Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 269, recorded at Big Dog Studios in Eugene, Oregon. This show is made possible by the Herbal Cache at the Real Herb Market. Foraged, wildcrafted, and selected with care botanical goodness is what you get when you pop by the Herbal Cache. Find them at therealherbmarket.com/shop/theherbal-cache. Sassy Llama Apothecary at the Real Herb Market. Plants are joy, and that's exactly what you'll find when you try one of Leslie's herbals at Sassy Llama Apothecary. She creates grounded, practical, and absolutely joyful tea blends, skincare products, and more. Find them at therealherbmarket.com/shop/Sassy Now, here are your hosts.
I'm Candace Hunter.
I'm Patrick Hunter.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio.
So, you want to make more money? I mean, the thing is that she's, Anna Rosa, we talked to her last week. She's got, these great ideas. She's, in her middle age, like, you and I are. And she's going to start this, nonprofit organization to help refugees. I mean, kudos. But like she said, how do you fund something like that? And you made some comments before we started recording about how, COVID threw a real curveball on a lot of people's finances last year and what they were going to be doing. So we were kind of coming up with a topic of like, what can we talk about on this herb chat? And you said, well, make money.
Well, you make it sound so dry. I was thinking a lot about how Anna Rosa, she's inspiring and she's excited about what she's doing and she has these great ideas and nothing stops her. Nothing stops her.
Well, I think
that that's something that I wish I had as a quality in my life. I wish I could say my heart speaks and I just know and I just do it. And each step appears before me like, Magneto walking across that thing in the movie, with the metal come off. For those people who didn't see the movie,
no spoilers.
He's making all these metal pieces just appear, and he steps on each one, and they appear just perfectly timed for him. And that's like Anna Rosa, And then there's me going, I want to move the metal. How do you move the metal? Now, all of us, I think, herbalists or not herbalists, many of us have struggled with finances at some point and wanting to make more money at some point in our lives. And for us, you and I we're middle-aged, and it's a hard time in the human experience, no matter what's happening in life around you. Just because, you hit this point and somehow it seems like 50 seems to be the magic number, and you hit 50 and then suddenly it's like, well, half my life is over. What have I done?
Yeah, it becomes this big time of reflection. And
when we were younger, they said, oh, you're 50, you'll have the big house and you'll be going on vacations and it'll be golf every Saturday and, you'll be driving really fancy cars and that's definitely.
No, I think it's kind of like
definitely not the way.
Pick your poison or pick your thing, but you don't get it all.
Yeah.
Unless you've really, done, we're lucky or fortunate or had the correct career or did the right thing. And, for our generation, I think we were the last generation that can easily do that or has been able to do that. The next generations after us, it's really a lot harder for them.
Yeah,
all on the board.
And even our generation, a large percentage of us have struggled. It's taken two incomes to make that happen instead of just one, like our parents had.
I blame Hughes. I blame 16 Candles. I blame Weird Science.
You do a lot of blaming.
A lot of blaming because that was my impression of what it was supposed to be. Everyone was that wealthy.
Right.
I mean, Ferris Bueller, was running around with a $500,000 sports car.
Right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But anyway, so my 80s upbringing was very much a counter to my actual upbringing. What I saw in the movies was different. So I think we grew up with different expectations, and we were able to do. I don't think we did better than our parents. I'm saying as a generation on whole.
Our whole generation.
I'm not saying individuals. I'm saying on a generation on whole.
Yeah, our generation has been described as the first generation to not exceed or do better than our parents did.
We've we've maintained, I would say, from where I'm at,
barely, but we have.
But on the same token, what we have versus what our kid is facing at 18, and what the mountain that he's got to climb to get to where we're at is substantial. Not just with COVID, but just in general. When you were thinking about 50, how you reflect on what you've done and where you've been, and you've amassed all this knowledge. But when you look at all the things that one does now to get a job, to do the things, to do all that stuff, it's like the technology and everything is already changing so fast that it gets to be intimidating to try to do anything, to start new, because you have to learn all this stuff again. It's like our son says, well, I just want to learn it and be done. It's like, you're never going to be done. You're always going to have to learn something. You have to learn every time, and it's really frustrating. And I can see it even in myself, not wanting to do certain things or learn certain things, or realizing that knowledge that I had, it's not even viable anymore. It's so out of date that you can't use it. So it becomes harder when you're at this age to move forward, I think. Sometimes. I mean, not everybody. You and I are blessed. Our generation is also blessed with the fact that we watch technology change from zero to where we're at now.
Yeah, and we're currently very instrumental in the changes that happen with technology, how programming is done, the metaphors used to create the language on the screen that you're going to use to interface or to connect with or make things happen with your computer is defined by our generation.
Right.
And it's, at least right now, it's being defined by us. So the metaphors that we're using are familiar to us.
Right.
They're not as familiar to our elders. And the youngins are trying to figure it out.
Yeah, right. When you say, put it on tape or...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or even now it's play, pause, stop, rewind, fast forward. These are all terms from, cassettes or CDs or things when we were doing that when we were younger. But, with Anna Rosa, she's saying, hey, I want to do this nonprofit. I want to do all these things. And, one of the ways that she's, figured that she could do that, because she didn't want to necessarily stand on government, not just subsidies, but grants and all those things, was to, I'm going to do it myself. And I made the comment, hey, okay, so you're doing it yourself. Can you let us in on how you're doing it? Because I'm sure everybody else is asking the same question. How do I do it too?
Right.
Yeah. And that got me thinking about, our audience and who listens to us. And a lot of them are herbalists. Mostly the herbalists are people that really care about herbs. And, a lot of them are probably sitting in their kitchens, drinking their herbal tea right now, thinking, yeah, I want to do something too. I want to make some money with this. I love what I'm doing. And a lot of people, the herbalism isn't their primary. A lot of times it's and I don't want to say side hustle, but it's their side job. It's the thing they love to do, and they want to make a little extra money on the side with it because they're doing a job maybe that pays the bills,
Right.
And they want to switch over so that the thing they love to do is the thing that pays the money.
Right. Yeah, we've got that whole, follow your bliss thing from, is it Joseph Campbell?
Yeah, him, and if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, kind of thing. I get it.
Yeah. Well, Joseph Campbell said, "Follow your bliss, and the rest will fall into place." He pretty much coached us to figure out what we love doing, and then the world or the universe would rearrange our lives or open the path for us to do that. And I don't know that that's been very accurate in my experience.
Well, I think it's funny too because I'm listening to that. And it's like, he did not live in the upper Midwest.
No,
he did not live in stoic, cold environments where you have to toil and in trouble, and then maybe you can follow your bliss later on, but not from 8 to 4:30.
Well, I think I've been thinking about that for a few years now because I was young and I said, follow your bliss. That's what I'm going to do. And I really tried and I really failed, in part because the things that are blissful and joyful to me at the time, I couldn't make a living doing it, or I couldn't find a path to make a living doing it. So I had to do the drudgery to make money, and then I could do the blissful things in my downtime.
Yeah.
But I never found a way to really translate the blissful stuff into my daily job for years. And even now, my job is not necessarily making me tons of money all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, I absolutely know what you mean. I mean,
but I've thought about it, and I thought, the part that he didn't mention to us is that your bliss is actually, like Anna Rosa said, it's in your heart, and it is about following your heart, but it isn't necessarily following it blindly. I mean, she's following her heart, and she has done, and the world's opened up because she's been strategic and intelligent about what she's doing. She's been clear about her intentions. She's had her why she's doing whatever she's doing. And it isn't a little why. It isn't just to pay my bills.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got that why too, I'm sure. I mean, obviously you have to pay your bills, but she's got a much bigger intention, and that's the bliss part that she's following.
Right. And that's the fun part for her. I mean, it's taking her time to craft that, that idea, and it does take time to craft that. You and I are fortunate. We generally like what we do and continue to do that. And, it's fun in a way because you talk about, you're one of the telltale signs when people are talking about what they do and they start talking about the people and that kind of thing and not the job itself, then for a fact that they're not going to last very much longer.
Right.
They're selling them on the idea. And I did it too. And we all do it. But it's one of those key things.
Oh, I love the people I work with.
Really what you like is the paycheck and you're putting up with everything else.
And you like the people, sure, but you'll find people you like anywhere.
And that, exactly. And that same idea, how it keeps people from moving on too, because they don't want to restart. But I guess what I'm saying is that, for you and I, when I complain about things, I don't say, I just, I really like the clients I work for. I really,
I mean, you do like them, but
what I'm saying more along the lines is that I enjoy the whole process.
Yeah.
The good and the bad, and I enjoy the successes. I just like the failures, like everybody else. But I don't think in the years that I've been doing this that you've heard me say, other than if it's a job, if it's in my field and it's a job I don't like, then I'll talk about people. Yeah. But typically I'm always talking about the job, the thing, the stuff I'm doing, not whether or not I'm hanging around with the people.
Right.
People are good. Now, people make a good environment. Don't get me wrong. You got crappy people. I mean, a good job can go bad too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, so we come back to that idea of bliss and following what you love to do and that. And if you find a career that you like, you can weather a lot of stuff. And, I found that career, and I've been one of the lucky few that I know of that I hopped around when I was much, much younger, in college and that. But now with what I've done, I've been doing this career for 25 years, if you can believe that one. And I'm still moving into it and still doing more and taking what I've learned to build other ideas and other things. So the same way that you are as an herbalist, if you've done this for many years, you might get to that point where you're going to say, I think I want to sell stuff, and I think I want to raise money for whatever that is. If it's to fund a nonprofit, or if it's to pay for your mortgage at your house, or whatever it is, you say I'm gonna make more money, and so you decide I'm gonna do that, and then you decide, well, how am I gonna do that? And that's where we end with that how, and that's why I said what I said to her is, well, it's great. Let us in on what you're doing. For Anna Rosa, she went from her market of Iceland, which is a very lucrative market for her because there's not many herbalists in her country. Right. But there's also not a lot of people in her country either.
Right.
I think Reykjavik is 200,000, if that, for population. And that's the big city.
Yeah.
So everything else is smaller than that.
Yeah.
So I think the entire population of Iceland is less than Portland, which is about
Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be even less than that.
Yeah.
So that market gets full. There's not that many people that are going to be buying it. You think about percentages and who's into herbal stuff. So the only way for her to do it was to expand. So she did. So she sells to Canada, she sells to the US, and she sells to the UK. All English speaking for her and easy to ship. And that's what she did. And her sales have gone through, and she's done more and more and more. And she's doing the things that she wants to do. And from what it sounds like, I mean, the reason why she didn't do everything she wanted to do was COVID put a wrench in everything last year.
Yeah.
For being able to travel, being able to move things around, being able to do stuff, COVID really stopped a lot of that for many people.
Yeah, pandemics will do that.
They'll kind of do that. Even for us, we had to hunker down and we had to change things. We did other things. We did,
Herbs in Action
COVID Summit. We kept moving forward on doing the things that we were doing. And we also decided that, for us, we decided, well, hey, we're going to help herbalists more so than, having them write for us and, talking about them on the Real Herbalism Radio. We decided that we're going to take it one step further and maybe offer them a place to where they can sell their stuff and open it up to a large national market where they never had that before.
Right.
Because so many herbalists start off and they're at their store, their local place where they have stuff on the counter, and they, that's what they do. Or they have a website that, their clientele goes to buy stuff. But what if they could open that up?
Right.
Ours isn't the only tool, but there are other ones. I have a list of tools for people to expand their marketplace. We're excited to announce that Ivory Isis Herbals is opening here at the Real Herb Market. Tanya Rose Rounds works magic with plants and natural ingredients to create an array of tasty herbal beauty and skincare products. Rooted in Ozark herbal tradition, Tanya's got connections that extend from ancient times to modern era. We know you're going to love the Ivory Isis Herbals line of herbal products. Find them at therealherbmarket.com/shop/ivory-isis-herbals.
Well, I was just thinking about the why behind everything, and I love that Anna Rosa has her why very clear. And you had your why has changed. Why you do design work has changed a little bit here and there through the years. It's been very basic in that, why do you do that? You do the job because it generally makes you happy to do it, and it keeps a roof over your head.
The why for me was very much
and you also like helping other people. You like problem solving with other businesses on helping them figure out how to make their marketing better, how to improve their bottom line. You love seeing your clients' businesses improving.
Well, that is my the why. I like seeing other people succeed.
Yeah.
And my hope is that by seeing others succeed, I will succeed, because the more people succeed, then they'll say, "Hey, Patrick, help me," then I can succeed.
Yeah.
So it fuels that. That's my why. So I guess that's a good point. Before you can get into the how, you have to ask the why. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I've struggled with what is the why for why I do the Practical Herbalist and Real Herbalism Radio and now the Real Herb Market. And it's something that I've been looking at and asking myself about for years. I mean, there are times where it's tiring, where, I've got a mountain of work, not nearly enough time to get it done, and I'm stressed out because deadlines are coming and, why am I doing this? And it always comes back to helping people connect with the plants. It always comes back to that.
Well, and that's the motto, or the slogan, if you will, for the Practical Herbalist, helping people connect to plants.
Yeah, and part of the point of this podcast is to say, hey, these are real plants. They're really actually quite easy. Real people use them. Let's meet Anna Rosa, and you can actually get to know the person behind all of the glamour that you see when you listen to most of the other interviews that you're going to hear and read the work that this, author has written or whatever. And, now let's meet this herbalist for real and have an actual real conversation with him or her.
Right.
And, the Real Herb Market is about helping herbalists and people who love making herbal products connect with people who really appreciate and love herbal products. Maybe they do some of their own at home, maybe not. I mean, I make my own herbals, but I also buy herbals from other people because, there are things I don't want to do. I don't want to distill that much. I mean, the idea sounds like it'd be fun, but I don't necessarily see myself investing in a still and doing the whole thing. I'd rather buy them from someone like Rebecca at Palmer Pond Botanicals. I can do that now if I want.
Yeah,
it's
similar to somebody that like I could brew beer.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time to brew beer, and I'm blessed in an area that has a lot of breweries.
Yep.
So I can say, I'm just going to go buy the style of beer that I want to have versus going to make it. And that's that luxury, that ability to do that.
Yeah, and there are things that I know there are plenty of people who listen to the podcast, who read, the Practical Herbalist, who just are in the world living and doing, and they would love to connect with some of these herbalists and be able to easily buy their products. And I like helping people connect with one another. I like helping people learn how to build better relationships and, make connections with each other. So for me, doing the Real Herb Market is about helping people make all those connections to each other and using the plants as a part of, a core piece of that connection. The love of the plants and the love of herbalism and the love of Mother Earth. I mean, that's when it comes back down to it. If you love the plants, you tend to love the earth as well. And that's part of what's really important to me, is that we humans treat this earth with love and care and respect as we would a revered mother, because she's the only one we got.
Yeah, I wish that mentality would cross over to most people,
but it was slowly, as we help more and more people connect with herbalists who are making amazing herbal products, that mentality starts to spread. It starts to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, we are seeing things. The pandemic was definitely not a straight up blessing, but there are pieces of the pandemic that have some silver lining. There's some silver linings here.
Sure.
And one of them is that more and more mainstream people have started to understand, just become familiar with words like immune system and antiviral and, learning about how to take better care of themselves. They're becoming more and more aware that plants can help them get rid of inflammation, and inflammation is one of the key pieces to COVID, and how, the people that have the worst experiences tend to have more problems with inflammation. And so people are becoming aware that a way to prevent COVID is to go for the anti-inflammatory, which means a lot of plants, because plants are one of the key pieces to helping us reduce and prevent inflammation. So, it's not a great way to have come about to this point, but at least we are making progress. More people looking for good herbal teas, for instance. They can find them at the Real Herb Market.
Right.
And hopefully they'll start to get to know the herbalists and the real people,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that what I like about, that is that they, as a buyer there, you can actually communicate directly with the herbalist.
Yeah, and you can get to know, the real people who are making these products, and the products are all made by hand.
Right.
And this isn't like buying from some giant conglomerate company where there's no real human connection to what's being made and what's happening. We need the real human connection, just like we need real plants.
And I like the idea that, you can be somebody in the middle of America and work with or talk to an herbalist, a small herbalist that's making desert herbs that could help you.
Right.
And you have access to that, which you didn't have before. And in turn, that person that's in Arizona, for instance, has access to suddenly customers that are not just
in Arizona.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's that connecting herbs and herbalists with people, and people with herbs and herbalists.
Yeah.
That's the part, that foundation hits that from the Practical Herbalist, Real Herbalism Radio, the Herbal Nerd Society. Everything that we've done, accomplished, and put together is just for those connections to make that happen. And that's the why, I guess, for us and what we're doing, and how we can, maybe on the other side of that, and to be the Americans and capitalists that we are, to say, hey, we can do all that, and that's what we want to do, but we're going to have we're going to make a little bit of money on that, because as much as I would love to be Jeff Bezos rich and just be altruistic about it, we can't, unfortunately. We have to make a living like everybody else,
Yeah.
And that's that thing, so we do what we do because that's, and like your shaman once said, that's the energy exchange in our society. It's not, me bringing a pig to you now that you've helped my family. It's I'm bringing my money to you so you can help. And that's our exchange of energy. That's our, our value system, and how we say, you did a great job here, I'm paying you something.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. As we like to say in this area, the electric company doesn't take trade.
Right.
Just the
Yeah.
way
And
it
especially
is.
in our area, there's, we've talked about this a couple times on the show that, we live in an area where people are more apt to say, do you want to trade for that?
Yeah, we have a strong barter and gig economy
Here,
in this
which
town. Yeah.
can work. But like I always say to those people, it's like, yeah, but my bank doesn't want to take a trade on the mortgage. So
Yeah.
trade me the money.
Yeah.
I hate to be that base about it, but I'm going to take that trade that you've given me and I'm going to use it to do other things like buy local if I can, and go to the local farmers markets and do those things that I can keep our community running and moving forward, and try to eschew as much as I can with Amazon.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing too, is I think, with your market is like, talking to some of the herbalists before we started this was, their frustration was that they couldn't do what they wanted to do because they just couldn't make enough money to do it because their market wasn't big enough. They were, a bobber floating in an ocean. They're bobbing around, and there's millions and millions of miles between, or thousands of miles between them and the next customer, maybe. Right. Whereas if they could get into an area where it was a richer pond and there was more fish and more people and more things, they would have a better opportunity to make a living on what they were doing.
Yeah.
And you may not be local. You're not buying from an herbalist locally, but at least you're buying from an herbalist.
From a real person.
And not just someone else. And that's the other thing I think, that separates, the herb market from other places is that because of the application process, because of what we do and the interview and the talk, you will meet the herbalist before you even see anything. Mm-hmm. You'll get to see what they ship out. You'll get to see them as we interview them. We talk to them. They provide a very large application to get into the herb market. It isn't just a, 2 shakes and you're in. Yeah. I mean, it's substantial, and anyone that goes through it, and the term verified or bona fide, it becomes like, we kind of verified them. They're doing what they're doing. If they were willing to jump through those hoops, they're probably legit. They're not just going to be somebody on there throwing off a bunch of herbs that they found on some market on Alibaba. It's going to be something that that somebody's built, and that's the important part. It's again connecting those people and the herbs. And in turn, funding everything that we want to do, just like Anna Rosa is connecting, her herbs and her people to fund the things that she wants to do, and is important to her. So following your bliss and all of that is great if you can, make some money at it, so you can keep following it. You made that point. You want to follow your bliss, and earlier on in your career and your life, and we found a place for you to do that. We said, okay. Do that, hit it hard and go follow it. And you did. And you gave it a really great effort and great try. And you had some really good stuff from that, opportunities, but nothing really solidified for you.
You're talking about my foray into authorship of fiction?
Yes. You're a very good writer. There's no one that, when people don't realize that, when we sit down to interview somebody, we've read about them, or we'll get their book or whatever. And, we'll have a small conversation before we start the interview, maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes. And during that time, it's a mini interview. And before you know it, you've written a, 50, 60, 80 word, intro, and we read it off, or I read it off to the person, and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. You just did that. And, because that's a talent you have, and that's, so you still get to use your tool and the thing you like to do because you're really good at it. And you make it effortless as when I'm doing something, layout design, you look at me and go, God, you just made it easy. It's just, we have our talents, and that's where we're at. So follow your bliss, but let's try to get paid for it.
Yeah.
So, do we have an herbal question today?
We have an Herbs in the News that I wanted to share.
Herbs in the News.
The article that we are looking at is out of a magazine, online magazine called Eat This, Not That.
Right. So that article is on eatthis.com, and it's by, so the full name of the article is Some Doctors Are Serving This Kind of Tea to Fight COVID-19. It's written by Chrissy Gaspar. I hope I didn't mess that up. And it was published on April 5th, 2021.
I'll make sure we have the link for that in the show notes.
Right.
What intrigued me about that article was the focus that they had on inflammation as being a key marker or sign toward not just whether or not you get symptoms or severe symptoms with COVID, but whether or not they progress to the more severe and the dangerous level, and how quickly people recover.
Right. So in this tea, they're talking about adding turmeric.
Yeah. And they mentioned green tea at the very beginning of the article, which made me really happy because we just spent all of March talking about the virtues of,
the benefits of
Camellia sinensis, which is green tea, but also black and oolong and pu'er and yellow and white. And, there's so many teas.
Yes, I know. You're gonna be planting tea at our house.
Oh, I do have plans.
Yes, apparently you found a grower in Salem, Oregon that has
Camellia sinensis starts. So I'm going to have some new shrubberies.
Yes, some
tea shrubbery.
Medicinal tea shrubberies.
Medicinal tea shrubbery. Anyway,
sorry.
all versions of tea share a majority of the green tea's virtues.
Which is?
There's a whole ton of them, but
what's the main ones for
anti-inflammatory, soothing the nervous system without sedating it, so helping it to function better, more smoothly, but not sedating it so that you feel tired.
Right.
And then they've got some antiviral properties, some anti-illness properties, shall we say. And then certain preparations like the oolong teas have a tendency to help speed or support a more healthy running metabolism. Mm-hmm. So they help improve your metabolism, which is why they're often connected to weight loss in popular articles. So anyway, that's green tea, and that's one that has been served to a lot of COVID patients worldwide as a preventative and a
treatment. It seems
treatment in terms of just helping you not get worse and helping you recover more quickly. And I'm pretty sure, and they're using green tea specifically for most of that, as I understand it.
Right.
And I think that's mainly a focus on the anti-inflammatory elements of green tea, which are strongest in green tea, though there are anti-inflammatory virtues or constituents or whatever in all the other teas. Mm-hmm. But green just happens to have the most of that. But the one that this particular article was talking about was turmeric. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of exciting to see turmeric as a tea being promoted for COVID prevention and for lessening symptoms and severity.
Yeah, they were saying they have anecdotal evidence, of people having a shorter stay because of the tea use. And some people coming in where instead of jumping from the mild to severe, stayed at mild. Yeah. Obviously there's no control study, but people, you can kind of see what's happening. I mean, if you have, anecdotally, if you had a bunch of people that didn't have that and then suddenly you're doing this and you started seeing some changes, you can say, I think this might have something to do with it. I mean, that's how the science starts anyway.
Right.
Someone will ask that question, well, does this really work? And then they'll run the test.
Yeah. And it's exciting to see doctors recognizing, because oftentimes doctors don't really take herbal medicine or nutrition. I mean, just basic nutrition seriously.
The funny thing here is, I think, if you said, again, we're teasing doctors a bit, but if you said, well, here, this is curcumin, this is a tablet, this is the chemical curcumin, you should prescribe this to your people. They would say, oh, sure, that's great, we'll do that. But if you tell them, here, this is turmeric, you should prescribe this to people, they'd be like, huh?
That may be, yeah.
Again, teasing doctors, I get it. A lot of you know your stuff.
I know,
and it's great. This is why this works for me too, because in this article, turmeric also has antiviral properties. Yeah. And that's why this doctor, Samantha Nicholson Spence, decided that they were going to try it.
Right.
And it takes those types of people to think about these things.
Yeah.
When you're in trauma medicine, for instance, or in your wartime medicine, or in things that put you in a position where you don't have all the best supplies, you don't have all the best things, you have to start to think about, what can I do to treat the people that are in front of me, and what do the people around here do, and what are those treatments that locals have been using, because maybe that's what we need to do right now, because that's
what we've got.
That's what we've got. It comes down to that's what we've got.
Yeah.
In Jamaica, it probably has quite a bit of turmeric in that area because it's
It would grow
tropical.
there.
It would grow there. Tea would be easy to get a hold of. So these are great things to try.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about being in the U.S. is that we have access to all of this stuff because we have importers and people bring all that stuff in. But I think that's really cool that they decided to try that out.
Yeah, well, turmeric is one of those ones that's a little darling that keeps coming back every few years. We went through the whole couple of years ago. There was every herbalist under the sun was writing some kind of golden milk or golden chai recipe. Everybody was all about
on it, right? And then it kind of faded away a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It got quiet. But I'm expecting we'll start seeing turmeric come back up into the forefront. And right now it'll probably come back as a treatment for COVID, but our listeners are going to remember, and many people who have been fans of herbs will remember, well, hey, you can take it every day.
Right.
And the fact is that if you're balancing, because turmeric's really drying, it's a very drying herb, just like nettle. It's very drying, really good for you. Turmeric has lots of really, important stuff going on. If you're taking it as an everyday preparation, unless you happen to have an incredibly damp constitution naturally, you'll probably want to do something to balance that, which would be why a lot of times you would be using it in a chai or in a milk.
Right.
And when I'm talking about chai, I'm talking about chai masala, which is, the tea, black tea with spices and milk.
Right.
And the milk part of it is dampening.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the balance between the two. So you get a ton of antioxidants, and the milk doesn't overwhelm and create too damp of an environment because the turmeric dries it out a little. So
you got me thinking myself that maybe I need to add turmeric to my smoothies.
That'd be really easy to do that.
Right.
Yeah. And when you add turmeric into things, most of the time what we ought to be doing with it, unless you're actually looking at an illness, like if you have COVID, I would take the tea the doctors are recommending. I don't know exactly what that is, but my bet is that it's going to be a tea that has very little other stuff in it, probably a lot of turmeric and maybe a little bit of sweetener to make it palatable, and possibly some other similar chai type spices. I don't know.
Right.
But that would be my guess on what they're doing. But if you're talking about like just regular daily, stay healthy, prevent illness, reduce inflammation in your body, then, taking your turmeric and in food level amounts, having turmeric curry today, and tomorrow add, a teaspoon or two to your smoothie. 2 might be a lot. It depends on how big the smoothie is. The next day, maybe you're making yourself a hot cocoa and add a little bit of turmeric to it.
Right.
You don't need tons, and you don't need to be taking it, capsules upon capsules. That's a lot. And unless you've got a problem, you probably don't need that. But taking some every day will help your body reduce inflammation over the longer term, and thus hopefully avoid you even having to go into the doctor with COVID or any other diseases.
Right. So aside from putting turmeric on it, what else could we put on it?
Oh,
wait, what?
Oh, no.
More?
Well, yeah, you asked that. One of the things that's so brilliant about turmeric is that the color tells you the antioxidants are present. Turmeric's really bright. It's in your face with color. It's vibrant. Green tea also, when you look at like matcha, it's vibrant. It's bright. The other plants that are also vibrant, like blueberries, raspberries, vibrant, bright. Those all have antioxidants. So look for those. Put those in your diet.
All right. So with that, put an herb on it.
The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA. They're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies are based on individual results and do not constitute a guarantee that you will achieve the same results.